Still ahead, it's the oldest trick in the Kill Health Reform book. And Senators John McCain and Tom Coburn are going back to it. It's deatherism. And what's old about scaring old people is new again. But first, a few holy mackerel stories in today's news. In a new interview with Politico out today, former Vice President Dick Cheney went after President Obama on Afghanistan by bringing up the fact that President Obama bowed when he recently met with Japan's Emperor Akihito.
I think our adversaries, especially when all of that's preceded by a deep bow to the head of government or whoever he's visiting, I think they see that as a sign of weakness.
Okay, now here's how this goes. In an interview, when a former vice president says that, you say, Mr. Vice President, excuse me, but do you mean that it was also a sign of weakness when President Nixon bowed to the Japanese emperor? Was it also a sign of weakness when President Eisenhower bowed to Charles de Gaulle, of all people? Was it a sign of weakness, Mr. Vice President, when former President George H.W. Bush bowed before the casket of a Japanese emperor? When you were, in fact, that president's defense secretary, Mr. Cheney, did you caution the president then that bowing like that was a sign of weakness that would be viewed as such by other governments? See, when it's an interview and not just a verbally delivered op-ed, that's how that works. Politico did ask Dick Cheney if he believed the Bush administration was responsible for diverting attention from Afghanistan to Iraq. Cheney's response, quote, I basically don't. That's it. That's all he said. We'll just leave it at that. No need to elaborate or follow up. Very busy. Here's a dramatic reenactment of my reaction upon first reading this earlier today. A Senate report just came out that you might recall that said the Bush-Cheney administration let Osama bin Laden escape just months after 9/11, allowing al-Qaeda to regroup. Bush and Cheney allowed the entire security situation in Afghanistan to deteriorate into the giant burning pile of resource suck we know and love today. And then Bush and Cheney passed along the whole thing to the next administration. But by all means, please continue to shower us with your innermostest feelings, wants, and desires, Mr. Self-Proclaimed Shadow Vice President. Because without you, Mr. Cheney, I would never be able to get on television and go as if my whole head was exploding. Next up, today is World AIDS Day. And for that occasion, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton has announced a groundbreaking Obama administration policy, which, awkwardly enough, reverses a policy implemented during the Reagan administration that was codified into law during the Clinton administration. It's a law that banned HIV-positive people from traveling to the United States. The Obama administration has finally dropped that inexplicable ban, and one immediate consequence of that is that the world's largest AIDS conference can once again be held in the United States for the first time since 1990, when, you might recall, Paula Abdul's Opposites Attract was a #1 hit.
Today, I am pleased to announce that with the repeal of the ban, the International AIDS Society will hold the 2012 International AIDS Conference in Washington, D.C.
Secretary Clinton also using World AIDS Day to make a legacy-defining statement that the United States would not tolerate homophobia on the international stage.
We have to stand against any efforts to marginalize and criminalize and penalize members of the LGBT community worldwide. It is an unacceptable step backwards. On behalf of human rights.
And if that sounded to you like an oblique reference to the Kill the Gays bill in Uganda, which we covered last night on this show, yes, it sounded like that to me, too. We are learning more today about anti-gay extremism in Uganda and its connections to American extremists. Last night, investigative journalist Jeff Sharlet laid out for us the web connecting the author of the bill calling for the death penalty for so-called aggravated homosexuality in Uganda, the connections between him and Pastor Rick Warren, and to our favorite denizens of C Street, the family. But 3 other Americans are also closely linked to the proposed Kill the Gays law. They are members of the so-called ex-gay movement, who back in March spoke at a conference in Uganda aimed at riling up anti-gay fervor in that country. The direct result of that conference, according to in-depth reporting in London's Guardian newspaper, was this bill that's now before the Ugandan parliament. So who are these Americans who went to Uganda to stir up anti-gay fervor? And why are at least 2 of them now distancing themselves from the harsh consequences of their rhetoric? We'll have much more about them on tomorrow night's show. You may want to clear your schedule.